Ladies and gentlemen, Merry Christmas. Mikey B here with Rob. Um, we are going to get right into it. Uh, Try and help you guys fill your pockets back up. We know family can be difficult, expensive. I'm feeling a little foggy from the festivities of the weekend, but I'm seeing a lot of things clearly today. So that's a positive note. Quickly, we're going to touch on yesterday's slate. So Baker Mayfield was the best player uh, for the Green Bay Packers, arguably all season. 4 interceptions. The Browns beat them up pretty good, but 4 picks. They didn't run the ball. Stefanski, I don't understand the logic of not giving Nick Chubb the ball at all. You had all timeouts. You have plenty of time late in the game. You have that. And then the Cardinals, it's funny. They're the team that the first 12 weeks Rob and I steady fade, and now that we finally back them, they become the team that we thought that they were all season, and they're trending down fast. They look like a team that everybody wants to play in the first round of the playoffs. But if you look at it, they did what they were supposed to do with Jonathan Taylor. They kept him in check. Granted, keeping Jonathan Taylor in check still 110 yards, which is crazy. Matt Prater left a lot of points on the table for them. Laces were in on that first kick. I wanted to be known the laces were in. And that's just something you can't have. But besides that, we're going to move on. We got a lot of games on this slate. There's a lot of money to be had out here for us. Rob, take us away here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly think the Cardinals, we're paying for that earlier in the year, right? And I think a lot of the folks that we follow on the various apps and betting sites that continue to fade the Cardinals early in the season in terms of playoff futures, right? So they were a popular pick to miss the playoffs at the beginning of the year. After a hot start, they continued to be a popular pick just based on the back end of their schedule and a potential downward trend in their trajectory. And here we are, like you said, Mike, they're close to on the outside looking in, because we discussed last week how that NFC East was all bunched up at 10-4. Well, now you got the Cardinals, taking the L early this week. They sit at 10-5, and it's on. Now it's on to the Rams to see what they can do today against the Vikings and potentially, go up a full game on the Cardinals too. But at the end of the day, it wasn't all doom and gloom since we last spoke. I mean, Thursday night was a great hit for those that followed. We had the Titans at +3 and on the money line. And I'm sure some, that were following may have been a little worried or skittish when we, went down 10-0 early in that game. But just like we said, that whole cast, it was a total spot game for the Titans. Notwithstanding, losing Derrick Henry for the year, they have continued to kind of just plot along, and they sit at, as the second seed right now in the AFC. So, credit to Mike Vrabel. I know, Mike, you were big on Vrabel going into that matchup against Shanahan. So, I think it was really, a good game and a good win for us there. And frankly, Baker Mayfield yesterday, 4 picks, and I know we were on the total there at 45.5. And anytime you look up in the early second quarter and you see, 21 points off 3 turnovers for the Packers, it's never going to help any under there. They were just able to convert on every Baker mistake. With that being said, if you took the 7.5, once we heard Baker was playing, and, it went down back and forth between 7.5 and 7, after the Baker news announcement that he was active. If you locked in at the 7.5, it didn't even matter because, it was a 2-point game, right? So you got the 7.5. They were able to keep it close, notwithstanding a number of turnovers from Mayfield, but on the bigger and better things today, just like you said. And I think the biggest thing right now is, of course, from our standpoint, would be the Eagles-Giants game.
It is. This is a big one. This is a really big one for us. So you think about the Giants. I believe Joe Judge to be gone when the season's over. They're built all the wrong ways. They have what they view as cute toys. They have no O-line, third-string quarterback. That, to me, rah-rah coaches and hard asses like Joe Judge That doesn't work in the NFL, especially if you're not winning. When you're not winning and you're giving players a hard time, we're talking about grown men, professional athletes. Take that stuff back to college where you're coaching 18-year-olds and everybody has to buy into what you're doing. We're talking about professional organizations, professional players. When you're essentially just an ass and you're losing a lot of games, you're going to lose a locker room. And once you lose a locker room, the season's over. Their season's over, but I see them in this spot. They're fired up. They're playing a division rival, and they can ruin their season today. So, and you and I well know how this can go. I think positionally, the Eagles' O-line should dominate. Looks like everybody's back. Number one running team in the NFL. There's no reason for them not to be able to control game clock, control the style of play, the pace of play. They should be able to, and in doing so with that, I'd like to see them, because you brought up they have a lot of the Giants secondary has a lot of players out. So with that being said, they need to be able to get some play action plays downfield. I think today, if you're able to dictate the play, I want to see them be able to open up the playbook. Even if they don't have to, I want it to be known that it is there if they need it. They open up the field a little bit. They have some guys that are open and can get open. And Devontae Smith makes big-time catches and big-time plays. Let's try and get him in the mix. At -10, Rob, how do you feel about that number there?
I don't. And frankly, and right before we came on, I actually saw it creep up to 10.5. Right. So right now you have, but that being said, you have 54% of the tickets on the Eagles at 10.5 with 95% of the love. I mean, it's a very big public play. I do not like, backing the Eagles to cover 10.5 today in this NFC East battle. The biggest thing going into this game for me right now is, it looks like all indication seems to be that Jake Fromm's going to be starting for the Giants today. So, where last week we were prepping for, potentially a matchup against the formidable Mike Glennon, now down to their third string in Fromm. So I think that's going to be key. And a lot of the things that we discussed last week after the Washington game, they're true today, right? So it's getting pressure on a third string, a backup quarterback, confusing the quarterback, mixing up the looks. I wouldn't expect the Eagles to bring a lot of blitzes or extra men against Jake Fromm. I would expect them more to maybe show blitz, back off. They're going to try to generate that pressure with the front four. But again, if you're going to do that, that front four needs to be, the wheels need to be turning. So I'm looking to see Fletcher Cox. Maybe last week he picked up his second sack of the year against Washington, which is crazy to think that he only has 2 sacks through the year. But looking at Cox and Hargrave starting from the inside out on that defensive line and generating pressure with solely the front four on Jake Fromm, that's going to be huge for the Eagles if they have any chance of covering that spread. Just as you said, I think this is a classic strength against weakness game. The Eagles are, first in the league now in rushing at 165 yards per game, versus the Giants, who are giving up 125 yards per game on the ground. They rank about 26th there in that category. So to me, we talk about these NFC East battles, these NFC East slogs. If I'm the Giants, I'm stacking the box against the Eagles, giving an extra support in the run defense. While at the same time playing contain and possibly spying Jalen Hurts. So I'm shutting down the run game, or committing to shut down the run game, and as well as not letting Jalen Hurts beat me with his legs on the outside of the pocket. That's how I'm playing it if I'm the Giants. And you mentioned, their cornerbacks being out. I know Adoree Jackson is one of those listed on the COVID list for the Giants. There's a few other DBs, second version DBs that may be out as well. You're also looking on the other end in terms of their wide receivers. It looks like both John Ross and Kadarius Toney may be out as well, from being on the COVID list. So there's definitely some inactives on the Giants end that the Eagles can take advantage of. But For me, it comes down to exactly what you said. If the Giants do commit to stop the run and stopping Jalen Hurts' mobility and his running ability, it's about taking shots downfield. And I think the Eagles need to do that today to keep this Giants defense honest and to keep the field spread open a little bit. Because again, I would expect them to commit to stopping the run. And if that's the case, I am looking to get Devonta Smith involved downfield. Dallas Goedert, at the tight end position, can get downfield. We saw that last week.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the idea of getting Quez Watkins the ball, whether that's on the outside at the line of scrimmage or, in the run game. I want to see the Eagles get the ball into their best playmakers' hands today, particularly their speed guys like Watkins and Smith. And again, whether that involves getting creative at the line of scrimmage or opening things up in the passing game, I think that's what the Eagles need to do. Really to move the ball down the field. They got to keep the Giants defense honest because they're going to be expecting the run, and because that's been the Eagles' bread and butter. And I'm not by any means am I saying that just to abandon that. I think that's the key for the Eagles' success.
Yes.
But at the same time, you can't be afraid to take those play action shots like you talked about, and that's going to be key for them. Another key thing I think here in this game is the Eagles. So this surprised me when I was going through it today, but the Eagles ranked third in the league in third down conversion rate. Right, they're sitting at 46% right now. The Giants are giving up first downs on third down at a 41% clip. They rank 21st in the league. So a combination of that rushing attack, being able to move the chains on third down, that's going to be key to the Eagles. To me, I'm laying off the 10.5. I don't like the line. I don't like laying 10.5, 10 points in an NFC East game like this, regardless of who's starting at quarterback for the Giants. At the same time, it's still a divisional battle. And just based off what we saw in the Meadowlands, things can get ugly quick, right? The Eagles can get down for this Giants team. We've seen that plenty of times, including in the Meadowlands. And if they don't take care of the football, this is a close game throughout the game. I would look to target possibly the total. I think you got 40.5 right now, and again, similarly, there's a lot of money on the over. You have it's 40%, 47% of the tickets to 75% of the money on the over. So
at 40.5, you said
at 40.5. So to me, I don't have any concerns about the Eagles moving the ball and putting up some points. It's where do the Giants' points come from to make up that 40.5? That's where I'm a little hesitant on, but there seems to be a lot of money on that over as well.
Honestly, Rob, my issue is, so I kind of see this, for me personally, there's too much out there that I want to put my money on, and my heart's on this one. I see this one ending around 24 to 13 or 10 birds. I would lean under in that. I don't like betting the total because the Eagles could blow the top off on them. The Giants might not be able to move the ball at all. Jake Fromm was great in QB1. Jake Fromm was great at Georgia. There's no reason for him to do anything against the Eagles today. He shouldn't be able – they shouldn't even let him breathe.
Yeah. Yeah, it all comes down, like we said, we got to get that. It all starts with the front four and it starts from the inside out. So you need the your tackles and Hargrave and Cox really to have a good game today. And it starts with them, I think, especially with Fletcher Cox. And then from there, I'd love to see a Josh Sweat sighting today. I think he still plays for the Eagles. We've been waiting for that step, especially with the absence of Brandon Graham. We're waiting for one of these guys on the outside to maybe step it up. And, without looking too far ahead into the draft preview, pass rushing is, coming at a premium right now for the Birds. So I think I want to see these ends get involved as well today too. Party at the quarterback, right? That's what the guys, that's what the boys talk about. And, there's a party at the quarterback. That's what we want to see today. If that total is going over 40.5, it may need to be an Eagles blowout in order to make that happen. I don't know if I see Jake Fromm keeping up with the Eagles, but for me, here's what I'm going to put in as an official play. Take this with a grain of salt because, again, we're emotionally tied to this game as if you can't already tell by our attire. I'm headed down in the game today, so we'll get a pretty good first-hand look at it. But I'm going to lock in the Eagles money line and Jalen Hurts to score a TD. I'm the same game part of that. Last week when we chatted, played a similar play, but with Goddard. And that was frustrating to watch Dallas Goedert go for 135 yards, but not in the end zone. But I like Jalen Hurts today to find the end zone. He, with 10 touchdowns now this year. Sanders had his first touchdown of the year last year. I think Sanders runs well. I think the Eagles run the ball well. But I think that dynamic and that optionality that you have with Jalen Hurts in the red zone, it just is very conducive to him sneaking in for a touchdown, at any given point. Just the way that they've designed different looks and they've done different things in the red zone. They've actually been a pretty solid red zone team as well. So that's what I'm going to lock in. I have that at plus 160.
Ooh, tasty.
Yeah, and honestly, I thought that was I was expecting close to even money.
Yeah.
Hurts touchdown and on the money line. I was a little surprised to see it at 160, but that's what I'm going to lock in for this game.
You know what? You're my blood, and I'll follow you to the gates of hell. I'm with you on this one. I love it. First official play. Mike's putting his hard-earned money on the Birds today. Let's go. All right. Let's move on to another big one. I'm looking at the big board here. My second biggest game is the Bills traveling to New England, and they are 1-point underdogs currently. So the Bills in this spot must win. If they lose this, I believe they'll probably be on the outside looking in. They're the 7th seed at the moment. And I see some teams winning today that are right behind them. So I'm on the Bills in a desperation game. A part of me believes that the Mac Jones hysteria is trending down. It was great to see that he was able to do what he did for a month. I don't see the Patriots aren't going to be able to just run the ball every play here. The Bills are going to put up some points. So Mac Jones is going to have to make some plays. I'm putting money on the Bills. That's an official play for me. Desperate team in a must-win situation. My fear is they are the little brothers to the Patriots still. And Bill Belichick, defensive mind, I still always lean and tip my cap to defensive-minded coaches, and he's the best that's ever done it, arguably. The older generations may beg to differ on that, but that's my opinion. I like the Bills. I think you also said that you like the Bills.
Yeah, I love the Bills. Bill Belichick is that great defensive mind, right? But hey, Sean McDermott's no slouch too, as we know from his time in Philadelphia. And he's done a great job with Buffalo, but I am all on the Bills, all in today on the Bills money line. I locked it in this morning at minus 105. And at that time, you're looking at 46% of the tickets on the Bills money line versus 74% of the money. So big money's coming in on the Bills money line as well. The New England pass defense is currently 3rd in the league right now, only giving up 185 yards per game. Josh Allen has not been right in the last 5 weeks. I think he's averaging right around 220 yards for the past 5 games. It just hasn't been up to his standards. I think where the Bills need to take advantage is on the ground. New England is 24th in the league on rush defense, giving up 122 yards per game. I think to me, again, it's maybe somewhat similar to this Eagles game where if I'm the Bills, I'm looking to open things up through the ground game first before I start spreading it out on the field. I trust Josh Allen to sling the rock. I think he's earned that, right? In regards to how he's progressed. Is it the case? You see what J.C. Jackson's doing in New England, and essentially, you have a guy. You have this Darrell Revis, type cornerback where the entire half of the field is shut down, right? Like it's just, he's been unbelievable this year, and he's really made a case for himself to be one of the best cornerbacks in the league. So if I'm the Bills, I'm looking to establish things on the ground first before I start, bring that New England Patriots defense in toward closer to the line of scrimmage and then start opening things up. It'd be interesting to see. I mean, as of right now, I think in terms of inactives, the Bills, they're getting hit a little bit with the COVID bug. Dawkins is out at left tackle, Beasley's out, and Emmanuel Sanders is questionable as well. So naturally, I would expect Jackson to either be following Diggs or just locking down one side of the field. Either way, if if the Bills can possibly work in a little bit pre-snap motion, move Diggs around, put the matchup in their favor, depending on how the Patriots play Jackson. That to me is going to be big. But just based on the market right now. And again, it's a spot game for the Bills. Like you said, They need this game. They are sitting at 7. I think, the Ravens, Steelers, they sit just outside of that as well. I don't know if there's a huge threat to the Bills right now in terms of losing that spot, but they don't.
I believe they could. I believe they could today. There's another team sitting right below them that nobody's talking about, and it's wanky. We'll get to it later, but I think they might be in the playoffs come the end of the day if the Bills lose this game. So I like that we're both on the same page with this Bills play. I just love the spot. I love the spot. The money makes me a little nervous. I hate to hear that there is that much money on the Bills, but I'm hoping the public's going to start to wake up here and see the Patriots at home. Hopefully they balance that out, get all the mushes up, get all the mushes tickets in, put them on the Patriots. So we have another official play, and that's the Bills money line. And it's a good number at the money line. Like, give me that all day. I view this as a heads up. You flip a coin. You can make arguments for the Patriots. But for me, in this spot, that is my sole purpose for betting the Bills. Moving on to the third game here, Rob. This is another big one in the NFC. This is another big game for the Eagles. That is the Rams 3-point favorites in Minnesota. I have another official play here. I have the Vikings +3. And I'll tell you why. First and foremost, I think that line's fishy. It seems low to me. That line alone is telling me the Vikings are going to – this one's going to be one of those classic Viking finishes. Whoever gets the ball with a minute to go is going to win this football game. So it's going to be a sweat. Just don't even put it on your TV. This is one of those games you look at 4:05 and just see what happened, because you're going to be aggravated. Mike Zimmer loves blowing games. Kirk Cousins, this is a classic Kirk Cousins spot to blow it. But the Rams have been weird in the same way, where they look great one week. Matt Stafford looks very shaky the next. The teams are built very close. They have a very close resemblance to each other. A lot of toys, some good defensive players. The quarterbacks, I'm leaning Stafford heavily in that. But the coaching, Sean McVay, I like him a lot more than I like Mike Zimmer. But if you look at the spot, and then this is a good way to kind of hedge off the Eagles as well. Make some money on the Vikings if they can pull this one out. But I could also definitely see this one, Rams win by less than a field goal. And everybody's happy.
Sure, yeah. It's an official play for me as well. So actually this morning, and I think you need to shop around at the books, because I found 3.5 for the Vikings at -115. So I paid the extra 5 cents to get that hook, and I think it's obviously 3.5. That's a huge hook there.
Yep. Yeah, it's a big one
for the home team. And at that point this morning, you saw 42% of the tickets on the Vikings at 3.5. And 83% of the love was at the same time. So that is a clear sharp play. This is one of the biggest sharp plays of the day, hands down. End of story. There's been there's been over 10, moves on the Vikings throughout the week. This is a clear pro versus Joe, I think, bet this week. And at the same time, it's one of those, like you said, hold your nose and just wait till 4 o'clock and see what happens. Because if you follow this one, you may take a couple years off your life. Maybe I'll be taking years off my life at the Eagles game itself, so I won't have to worry about that. But this is definitely a game where I think the pros are aligned and riding the Vikings this week. That's why it's moved down back and forth between the 3.5 and the 3, which is just a key spot there with that hook. The Rams do have a few, COVID-related issues. I think, the Vikings do as well. Haverstein is out and a few other. I think their offensive line room may have gotten a bit of the bug. I think Haverstein is still listed as out. Their tackle Higbee was on the COVID list as well. So their their offensive line and tight ends seem to be a little bit depleted, to some extent with inactives. And then I think the big question for Minnesota is Mattinson, because Mattinson was on the COVID list as well as of this morning. So it's a question of whether or not he goes, and obviously that's huge for the Vikings. But again, regardless of who's in and who's out, for me, this is looking at the board, seeing where the money's going, and tracking that. And this is that kind of spot play. Hold your nose and ride with the pros here, and take the 3.5 if you can.
Absolutely. I wouldn't even be opposed if somebody got frisky and put a Vikings money line play in. I'm not opposed to that. I'm not making that an official play. Give me the 3, because the Vikings, it's been all season with them in the fourth quarter. We've seen it time and time again. And the Vikings bit me in that Lions loss. They cost me quite a bit of money there. Couldn't believe it, and I don't even want to bring it up again. But we have one more very big game coming up with playoff implications, and I may be alone on this one, but it's the Broncos at the Raiders. The Broncos, I saw now, are 1-point favorites. I think Drew Lock adds a better element to their offense than Teddy Bridgewater has of late. I mean, Teddy Bridgewater, he is who he is. I put him in the Tyrod Taylor category, where he's good enough to get you a couple wins, but he's not good enough to take you to where you expect to be. He's had a couple good games for the Broncos, but I think Drew Lock has a better arm. Clearly, the mobility's vastly different. But I think Drew Lock, there's been moments where he's had very nice football games, and then clearly he's had some mediocre ones. But to me, even more important than the Broncos situation, the Raiders just look uninspired, and they look like they want to pack it in. If you look at their record and the playoff picture, they can't yet, but it looks like they're ready for this season to be over. They're playing uninspired football. They barely squeaked by the Browns, missing their entire team. That, to me, that says a lot. And another thing, I think Darren Waller, there is no confirmed structural damage with his knee, his back. He's been out since Thanksgiving, and he's been questionable since. So a month off and not wanting to play. Listen, I'm not in their medical room. I don't know the magnitude of the injury, but just from what I read and see about him, it looks like he wants it to be over as well, just to kind of prove my point. I know for a fact, if I was able to go, this is a game you have to have. I think that he would make a solid push to get out there, and he hasn't done that yet. Derek Carr, his best weapon's Hunter Renfrow, who's having a great year. I like him a lot, but he's one of those guys where he could throw for 350 or he could throw for 4 interceptions like we saw Baker Mayfield do last night. And the Broncos defense isn't slouchy. They've had a couple games this year that they played very well. They played very well against the Bengals last week. Or not the Bengals. Yes, the Bengals, I'm sorry. And I think that was a game they had to have. I think they held the Bengals to under 20 points, if I'm not mistaken.
15-10, yeah.
15-10. So you hold a team to 15 in the NFL, you have to win that game. You have to. And I'm hoping Drew Lock's able to move the ball down the field, which will help their run game, because both their running backs are good. They have a great 1-2 punch there. So if he can spread it a little bit, take some guys out of the box, I think everything complements each other in that situation for the Broncos. I love them in this spot. I really do. This might be my favorite play of the day. I took Broncos money line. I got that at -104 earlier. I'm not sure what it is at the moment. I'll have to look at it when we get off. Do you have any feel on this one?
I'm a rider on this one. If this is your favorite play of the day, I'll ride on Denver. I'm okay with that because I don't have a feel. I agree. Both of these teams have been up and down all year. In terms of the Bridgewater versus Fromm Bridgewater versus Lock discussion. I agree. Lock can sling the rock a bit. We saw that like when he first came in the league. My issue is that Teddy takes care of the ball generally.
He does.
He like to your point, what you're getting in Teddy Bridgewater. There's certain limitations there, but at the same time, there's a relatively comfortable standard that he can manage a game, he can protect the football, move the football, and at towards the end of the game, you're going to be in a position to make a couple plays to win any given game with Teddy at the helm there. And I agree with you, and I think it's a theme for today and the games that we've been talking about is that in order for Denver to pull this one out in Las Vegas, you are establishing that run game with Williams and Gordon. But at the same time, if Las Vegas is committing to stop that run and going to make Jake Lock beat them, Jake Lock is going to have to beat them. That's right. So you're going to need to make some throws. In order to, I think, get over the hump in this one. I don't think you can rely on just the run game because I think that's what Las Vegas may be expecting. So, and again, it's, what I like about the Denver team is you got some tools like Sutton. You have Jerry Jeudy. Yep. I'm still waiting to kind of make that jump. In the league and become more of a dominant possession type receiver. I think that's I'm really still looking to see him get involved. But then you got guys like Sutton, where you have playmakers that you can get the ball early at the point of line of scrimmage and maybe make some things happen. And if I'm Denver, I'm going to try to mix it up a little bit with that because again, I think Las Vegas is expecting them to commit heavily to the run. And again, I think that's how Denver wins this game. That's their strength because their defense is just generally solid. And there's nothing in particular about the Las Vegas offense, especially without Waller, that concerns me. So if I'm Denver, I am looking to establish that run, but at the same time, opening up a little bit and keeping that Las Vegas defense honest in order to get that offense moving.
All right, I'm glad you're with me on that. Coming to the next one, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with a very depleted offense sitting at -10 going to Carolina. You had brought this one up early this morning to me, so I just want you to take it away and sell me on it.
Yes, I mean, we're looking at in Tampa Bay, there's no Evans, there's no Brown, correct? And there's no Fournette, right? So the production that's been lost.
And no Godwin.
And Godwin's out for the year. So the production that's been lost on the offensive side of the football, I understand Tom Brady is the GOAT and he's still there, but to lay 10, I have it at 10.5 this morning. So to lay 10.5 in Carolina is an absolute no-go for me. And actually I'm making Carolina at 10.5 an official play. As of this morning, you have 35% of the tickets coming in on Carolina at 10.5 versus 55% of the money. Pro money, big money is on Carolina in this spot. There have been several moves on Carolina throughout the week. At the same time, I think a lot of that may be due to the injury news coming in and out over the week with respect to the Buccaneers. But there's just too much sharp money coming in on the Carolina Panthers for me not to take them to cover the 10.5 at home against the Bucs. The Bucs, Tom Brady and the crew, they may very well get this one, get this win, get this done. And I would expect them to win this game, regardless of all the inactives. But to cover 10.5 in Carolina with that amount of production being out, I just don't see it happening. And I don't think the pros do either, which is why I'm on Carolina at 10.5.
Okay. I really like, if you're looking for a teaser team, give me 17.5. I really like throwing them in a teaser if you're looking for something like that. I like them at 10.5 as well. It does look like Antonio Brown is a go today, so that is big for them. But Stephon Gilmore, I mean, that's a name you haven't heard in a long time, right?
Right.
Which I think kind of speaks volumes to Bill Belichick again. So I'm assuming he's going to be on AB. After that, put pressure on Tom. Because Tom is a quarterback. It's all about timing. 1, 2, 3, balls out. 1, 2, 3, balls out. And if he hasn't had the reps with the wide receivers, and if they didn't do their proper due diligence, you might see some Tom Brady conniptions on the sidelines again this week. In my opinion, the timing of the routes could be catastrophic because he has such a good chemistry with Gronk, such a good chemistry with Chris Godwin now. I mean, they really started to look like something special. To me, the timing of the wide receivers, 1 week filling in, that's going to be the biggest problem for the Bucs to move the ball, and then you don't have Leonard Fournette to lean on, but you do have Ronald Jones, who is a formidable running back. So I'm not overly concerned with the Leonard Fournette being out. To me, the Panthers, they have to find a way to run the ball, control the clock, get up, make the Bucs one-dimensional, and keep it tight. Get pressure on Tom Brady, throw off his rhythm. It's already thrown off a little bit. And I think that that's going to be a tight one, an ugly, tight football game. And I'm not going to say that the Panthers are going to win. I don't rule it totally out of the realm of possibility. That's why we play on Sunday. But give me the Panthers at plus 10.5, especially if that's one of your favorite plays of the week. I love it. To me, that's all I have to say about that matchup. I don't even want that on the TV. I don't want to see anything about it. That's another one of those games. Just let them play it. Don't tell me about it. I'll look at it 4 o'clock and see what happened. So moving on to our 6th game on the slate. And I'm going to let you take this one again because I think you can just explain to the people what the Jacksonville Jaguars are to us. And they're visiting the New York Football Jets. And we're seeing it at -2. Jets are 2-point favorites now at home. But take this one away, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, talk about ugly games, right? Like, It seems like we've bumped into quite a few of them this week. And again, this is just another market play for me. We are chronic Jagoffs. We do the Jacksonville Jaguars. We live and die betting on the Jaguars. And for whatever reason, we always seem to find ourselves on the side of Jacksonville. And this week I am again. Right now, Jacksonville, as you said, +2, getting 2 points in New York. They're getting 43% of the tickets, 55% of the money. So there's a little bit more money on 52% of the money. So a little bit more money on Jacksonville there. There's also been a few sharp moves coming in on Jacksonville throughout the week. What's fishy to me is that this is a line that's just below that home field goal. So only sitting at 2 is a little interesting. Again, this is another one of those hold your nose, bet the team, bet the spot, and think about it.
Another one we don't want to see on the TV is what it is.
No, yeah, I mean, it's funny because as we go through this, it's like, oh man, this is like one of those ones you're not going to see on TV. But eventually, Red Zone is going to have to show some of these games, right?
You know who I think has a really good game for them today? I think Trevor Lawrence has 2 passing touchdowns. I might bet him as an anytime rushing touchdown scorer. I'll have to look at the number. I can't confirm that play yet, but I like James Robinson again to squeak in. I like Trevor Lawrence to have himself a little bit of a day. Besides that, I have absolutely nothing to say about the Jets. And I'll be perfectly honest, I don't even care to.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like I said, this is a bottom of the barrel market play. Hold your nose, and take a swing at this one. I'm just given the money that's coming in on Jacksonville and a few of the moves that were triggered on Jacksonville. It's just another spot play for me. But otherwise, there's really not much else to this. I mean, this is one where, like I said, bottom of the barrel. If you're still looking to make plays out there, we feel pretty confident about some of the games we talked about earlier. But if for whatever reason you're still looking to make plays out there, I think there's a play to be had on the Jags here at +2.
I agree. So the next few games, Rob, I'm just going to throw 4 of them out there. I don't have much to say about them. There's some COVID issues, some big spreads. The first one being the Ravens in Cincinnati, 3rd-string quarterback. At last I saw 7-point spread. There's not much for me to say. It's a shame. It's a real shame because this one has major playoff implications on it. But it's impossible for me to back the Ravens, and I don't want to back the Bengals at 7. So that's just that. Do you have any feel on it?
No, I think that, I totally agree. Right now Ravens are at that 8th spot. Outside looking in, they need a win today. They are the more desperate team here, but can they get it done with Josh Johnson at quarterback? I can't back them to do that.
No.
While at the same time, I can't necessarily lay 7 with Cincinnati. I mean, if I had to lean either way, again, it's a weird, injury, COVID-related line. I'd lean Bengals at -7 at home against the third-string quarterback, but it's a no play for me. I just given how much Baltimore really does need this game, and they were able to rally last week around Huntley and put together a good game in Green Bay. I don't know. Maybe Green Bay has a problem at covering at home. Maybe that's a problem for Green Bay. But if they can do, if they could play, if that Ravens team can elevate their game similarly for Johnson this week, given the divisional battle, the Ravens are desperate. They need this win today to stay in the playoff hunt. I believe it's just a no play for me. It's a pass for me.
Yeah, pass on the game. Pass on it. The next one, this is another pass for me, and I don't even really care to speak on it. That's the Detroit Lions visiting the Atlanta Falcons, another 7-point spread. Who cares?
Yeah, I'm just not trusting Atlanta to cover 7-point spreads. Like, I'm just not. Yeah, there's just no for me. Like, I don't want to lay 7 on Atlanta. I'll pick my spots and play Atlanta here and there when we think it's going to be good Atlanta. But as we've always talked about, we never know what Atlanta Falcons team we're getting. I'm just at this point in the year, I'm in no position to lay 7 points on the Falcons, even if it's against the Lions. I mean, we saw what they did last week, and I'm not saying that they've completely changed course. I mean, they're still at
the thing that's a shame to me, Rob, is the Lions didn't win last week. I'd probably like them in this spot, but now everybody likes them in this spot, so just stay away from it. This game means nothing to the NFL. They're just trying to sell merchandise at this point. Coming on to the next one, we have Chargers visiting the Texans. Chargers are 10.5-point favorites. Absolutely nothing to bring to the table on this one either. If you need to sprinkle something, you could sprinkle some action on some Chargers player props, but then those numbers I would take unders because I don't even see them playing come the fourth quarter.
Yeah, I mean, this was a game earlier in the week where I saw some, there's a little bit of sharp love on the Texans at 9.5. Just thought that line was a little too high. But then you have all the COVID inactives come into play late in the week, and now it's at 10.5. And for me, I started taking a look at the COVID list for Houston, and I mean, it's a tough pill to swallow betting on the Texans in any event. But then you start seeing this list of players, that are out, and it's just a pass for me. It's just not a game. I don't think there's an angle on this one. Houston's, I think, is too depleted from an inactive standpoint to make that game close and to keep it within that 10. Yeah. And at the same time, I don't want to go just laying 10.5, with the Chargers anyway. So it's a stay away from me on this one too.
Yeah, I agree. And another just ugly football game. You have the Bears in Seattle. Seattle 6.5-point favorites at the moment. Russ hasn't looked good. The Bears look terrible all the time, which is a shame because that roster is too good to be that bad, in my opinion. Matt Nagy stinks. I have no play, no feel, nor do I care about this one either.
Yeah, I'm over betting on Seattle. I just don't trust that Seattle offense. Russell, I don't know if Russell Wilson has had a worse year. I know he's been, had some injury issues, the thumb, and I know he's been hurt. And he's probably powering through a lot right now in terms of, the thumb and being able to, to remain active with that injury and coming back pretty quickly as well. But I just don't trust that offense to move the ball and to cover a 6.5-point spread, even if it's against Nick Foles and the Bears. Like two teams that, I just don't have a good feel for at this moment, and I'm just not going to lay 6.5 with Seattle.
No, it's perfectly fine to not have a feel for it. I think it's like, why would you? And if you tell me you do have a good feel for it, you're a liar. So this is a big one, and this line's crazy to me. Steelers in Kansas City, 10-point favorites at the moment. That's a lot of points. I know the Steelers have looked really bad at times, but it's like one of those locker rooms. They play hard, they have heart. I can't feel like I can't back them because the Chiefs are just getting so hot at the right time. And that's just one of those teams. Like, I hated the Chiefs going into the season, and everything looked like I was right, but they look really good. I know there's some COVID issues over there. I can't get a feel for this one. 10 just seems like a lot, and it looks like to me the Chiefs are going to smoke them and put the Steelers out of their misery, I guess. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean it's a no play for me as well. But if
Yeah.
anything, I lean Steelers. You know, I lean the 10 points.
Yep.
If Pittsburgh can kind of slop this one up, make it a grind, I could see that 10 points definitely coming into play. So it's a lean for me at the Steelers at this point, but it's not a play for me. I think getting Hill back for Kansas City is huge. And I expect notwithstanding Kelsey injury, I expect the Chiefs to continue to move the ball. And at the end of the day, when it comes to the Steelers, I don't know what Ben we're getting. Are we getting over the hill Ben? Are we getting there's still some fighting him left Ben? Like I don't know. And in order for the Steelers to close this gap, I think you gotta commit to Najee in this one, and at the same time you got to get Johnson involved on the outside to a good degree. And if those two, essentially they're two key guys on offense, if they can get them the ball and they can be productive in that way, then I do. That's what makes me lean Steelers here. And I me. I mean, 10 points. You got two teams in playoff contention. Chiefs are sitting at the top of the AFC again. You got the Steelers now right behind the Ravens on the outside looking in. They still have hope. We saw that last week. We were on the Steelers last week at home against Tennessee. Came out with a big win, so they're still fighting. So that's what makes me lean towards the Steelers at +10. But again, because it's Kansas City, they are getting hot. They do look like they're hitting their stride at the right time. It's just going to be a pass for me.
Yeah, me as well. No reason to force a play on this one. All right, two more. Next one's a big one. We have the Washington football team. Very creative there. In Dallas, 10.5-point dogs. I lean the football team. I have to. Dallas hasn't looked amazing of late. They're starting to look fraudulent again. And the Cowboys are going to be the heavy public favorite on a primetime game. So at this point, I'm going to take Washington. That's going to be an official play for me, but I'm going to sit on it. I'm going to wait to see what that line does. If I can get a better number, no need to force it. That's another one of those teams I would really like to throw the football team into that teaser category. Maybe get them at +17.5, +18 with the Panthers. Maybe throw the Vikings in there. Maybe even throw the Bills in there. Something like that. But that's one of those teams. I like them +10.5. It's another division game. This is a must-win game for them. And I just think Mike McCarthy at this point, like, he's going to blow it. And it's just a matter of when. It's not a matter of if. So it's going to come sooner than later. I think they're going to squeak out a win, but I think it's going to be ugly, and they probably win by a field goal or less. And I think Washington's getting some players left, correct?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and I haven't. The last I checked, I think the status of Gilbert versus Heineke is still up in the air, but I think Heineke is set to go in this one.
That's my guy too.
Yeah, we know your love for Taylor Heineke. He's a baller.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, assuming Heineke's a go, I like 10.5. I would lean Washington as well. NFC East rivalry could be a slog here. Again, you're looking for Washington to make this one a tough going for the for Dallas. I would lean Washington too at 10.5. Would I pull the trigger on that? Maybe not. I don't think so. But if there's a lean for me here, it'd be Washington to keep it close in the divisional battle.
All right. So our last game, we have the Dolphins in New Orleans. I think New Orleans just got killed with COVID. I don't have any take on it. If you wanted to take the Dolphins, but with that line being what it is, with the fourth string quarterback.
Yeah.
And all the people being out, Saints are going to win that game. Let the public tomorrow drive up that Dolphins line. And then I'm just gonna sit here, take the Saints money line tomorrow. Probably, I'm not gonna make that an official play, but that's what I'm probably going to end up doing. Fade the public and ride with the Saints on that one.
Yeah, I mean, early on in the weekend, I was taking a look at this game, and I really did like Miami at -1.5, maybe even as high as -2. And then once the book news, the Ian Book news comes out, and it looks like he's going to be starting for the Saints. God love him, go Irish. But I can't, for the life of me, I can't understand why, with Ian Book starting in his first NFL game at home against Miami, this line's only -2.5. It's very strange to me. Perhaps the public is what drives this lineup tomorrow. But because it was sitting there after that news came out, it kind of turned me off on this one, and it's a pass for me.
Okay. Well, that pretty much wraps up the slate. I don't really have any players that I particularly like to go off today. I think I'm just going to leave it at that, take the games. I think I'm going to have an official teaser out involving the Bills, the Panthers, the Jags, the football team. And that's really it. I think we covered all the bases here, Rob.
Yeah. I mean, in terms of players, I know we like Jalen to combo a TD with an Eagles win today at +160. That's going to be a play for me. But otherwise on player props, I haven't seen anything, that really caught my eye. If we're talking teasers, I like the idea of teasing Buffalo up. I like teasing the Vikings further up and the Jags further up. So those three teams where they're sitting at, +3.5, +2, and the Jags, get those over a touchdown. And in the Vikings case, you can get on a 6-point teaser, getting that to 9.5. I would play it at the 6 points, get the Jags to 8, get Buffalo to 7.5, and I would take this 9.5 with the Vikings. It'd be great to get that at 10, but I would just take the 6 points and get it to 9.5. Because again,
I like it.
We like the Vikings at 3.5 itself. So those three teams would be my teaser play.
Yeah. Yep. So I hope you enjoy yourself down there. Be safe. Go Birds, baby.
Go Birds. Yeah, they need this one. Like we said, like last week, it's like, it's a short week, tough circumstances, but you're going in against a bad Giants team and a third-string quarterback in Jake Fromm. You got to get pressure on Fromm. You got to confuse Fromm, and the defense. Like I said, there should be a party at the quarterback today. And then on the other side of the ball, we're looking to establish that run game, keep it going, keep going what's working for you, but at the same time, you're going to have to mix it in a little bit and open it up. I want to see Jalen Hurts push the ball downfield a bit, and I want to see some accuracy on those deep throws. That's really what I'm looking for today. And so if anybody's going down, you can take a look for me in section 201, right under Mr. Al Worcester's number. But the good thing about being up there is that it's a lot easier to see those open players on the field running down sideline. When and seeing those plays that are out there. And at the same time, that can make it a little bit more frustrating. So, again, really looking to see the Eagles make some plays downfield in this one to keep the Giants' defense honest and to avoid them being able to stack that box, and stop that run game.
Give the people what they want to see. They want to see a light show. So let's put one up. All right, Rob. For everybody, follow us on Twitter at Take Your Pick. Hit the subscribe button. Do yourself a favor. Grow up. Hit the subscribe button. Rob, it's been a pleasure. I'm sure we'll be in touch later on.
Absolutely, Mike. Yep. Yeah. And everybody look out for these plays on the Twitter. Again, we'll run through it there, and let's make some money today. All
right, buddy. Have a good day.
You too. Enjoy.